Hello everyone, this is Dave Lipscomb, Director of Strategic Communications for PBI. Welcome back to Corporate Pro Bono's CLO and Pro Bono podcast series. This week's episode features David Leitch, Global General Counsel at Bank of America Corporation and member of CPBO's Advisory Board. We spoke with David about Bank of America's Pro Bono program, why Pro Bono is so important, his hope that more pro bono will be dedicated to helping individuals, and his quest to encourage more CLOs to join the CPBO Challenge Initiative. David describes some of Bank of America's pro bono efforts assisting veterans, providing counsel at family court, volunteering at wills clinics, and representing individuals seeking citizenship. He also explains that he provides members of his legal department with the freedom to pursue volunteering and encourages them to do so through their employee performance evaluations. We hope you enjoy the interview. Hi, David. Thanks for joining us on the podcast today. To get started, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself, your legal department, and its pro bono program?
Thanks for having me. Happy to join you. So I am the Global General Counsel at Bank of America. That's a position I've held since the beginning of this year, January of 2016. Prior to that, I had been the General Counsel at Ford Motor Company for over a decade, which is a company that also has a very healthy and vibrant pro bono program. So our legal department at Bank of America comprises about 1,000 people. All over the globe, spread, of course, around various locations in the United States, and then with concentrations in other parts of the world, including, in particular, London and Hong Kong, but a variety of folks in different locations. And we've been involved in pro bono for quite a long time. The bank in 2006 was a charter signatory to the Corporate Pro Bono Challenge. And we have a very active pro bono committee, which has about 20 members who regularly attend monthly meetings and work with our corporate social responsibility and business networks to tie our pro bono program into the bank's overall community service efforts. Since we established the pro bono committee, I think it's fair to say hundreds of attorneys, paralegals, and others have contributed their time, their resources, and their talent to a wide variety of pro bono opportunities, and they've done so with great enthusiasm.
So speaking of pro bono opportunities, what kinds of projects does your legal department work on?
Well, we do all sorts of different pro bono activities across the spectrum. We've been involved with the groups that are assisting veterans. We've been involved in providing family court, clinic-based pro bono assistance in various efforts in New York. We've partnered with some of our outside law firms to provide, for example, we've partnered with Legal Services of Southern Piedmont here in Charlotte and McGuire Woods to sponsor a wills clinic, and again to provide veterans advocacy presentations. We worked on citizenship clinic intakes with O'Melveny and Myers in Los Angeles, and just a whole host of different things depending on the interests of our attorneys and other members of our staff and opportunities that are presented to us.
Tell us why pro bono is so important to various stakeholders, law department leaders, the business community, the legal department and legal staff, the community, and what are some of the benefits that come out of doing pro bono work?
Well, look, I mean, the first and foremost, pro bono is important because it helps those who are underserved by the legal community to receive legal assistance. I mean, we all, across the hundreds of thousands of employees at the bank and other commercial enterprises, there's lots of folks who are engaged in community service of one form or another, and it's really an outstanding effort that I've seen firsthand. Lawyers are in a unique position, and those who support lawyers are in a unique position to help people with problems that sometimes can be mystifying because they involve legal issues, and they're also sometimes the most important thing going on in someone's life. If you're working on, trying to help somebody receive a protective order from an abusive spouse, or trying to gain asylum, or trying to get access to food stamps that they're entitled to. Some of the most critical needs that people face require the assistance of lawyers and those who are familiar with the legal process. And so that's the first and foremost importance of pro bono work, is helping clients. But more important than that, not more important than that, but, sort of just below level of importance from helping the individuals is that, we have an obligation as lawyers. We're members of a profession, and we have an obligation to use our training and skills to help those who are in need of them, who can't afford them. And that's an obligation that has been recognized for many years, and I think it's one that we should embrace. It's also, frankly, incredibly satisfying to be engaged in pro bono service. We do it with enthusiasm, and even then, when we do it, we find that we get more out of it than we ever thought we would, just from the satisfaction of seeing those who didn't know their way through solving a problem get those problems resolved, and having them know that somebody cares enough about them to lend their time and their talent to helping them with their problems. And then, of course, to the community, it fills a gap for those who are less fortunate, often forgotten about, or at least less visible in terms of their needs and the places where they're not being taken care of. Filling that gap is a really important thing. So there's just a whole host of reasons why pro bono is so important, and those are some of the ones I would point to.
Switching gears a little bit here, your legal department is a signatory to the Corporate Pro Bono Challenge Initiative. Tell me why that's important.
Well, first of all, it sets out a marker. It sets out a marker for our department that is an aspiration as to what we hope to do in terms of meeting our pro bono obligations as a department. It also binds us with others in the corporate community who are involved in similar efforts, and hopefully we can spur those kinds of efforts across industries and companies, and share resources and learning through the recognition that others are also part of the pro bono challenge. And it's also, frankly, it's a marker to society at large that says that lawyers who are working in-house are equally interested and committed to perform the kinds of pro bono services that they have come to expect from law firms. So we really think it's a significant marker, and it's an aspirational statement of where we hope to be as a department.
As a chief legal officer, what role do you play in encouraging pro bono within your legal department and the greater legal community?
Well, I have a good platform to be able to encourage pro bono participation in my department. Sometimes lawyers in-house are like lawyers in firms are not sure that it's okay for them to spend their time doing this kind of thing, right? They've got sort of classic thought of, I'm doing my day job, this is what I'm getting paid for, can I take, quote unquote, time away from it to do pro bono work? So I think the first thing I can do is give them the freedom to pursue the kinds of pro bono opportunities that they want to pursue. I can also encourage them through, having it be part of their expected performance. We have made a commitment this year that that was one of the things we wanted all of our attorneys and others in the department to do, is to become engaged in pro bono or community service. It's not prescriptive. I don't demand that they, the kinds of things that they do that would, quote unquote, count toward that goal. But I want them to make sure that they've thought about that and decided how they want to get involved in our communities. So I I both give them the freedom and I give them the encouragement to participate.
Expanding on that, what other goals, if any, have you set within the department specific to the pro bono program?
Well, one of the things I think is an interesting development over the last number of years is the expansion of pro bono overseas. It has been something that has been more widely recognized in the American legal community than perhaps in some other legal communities. And so I have worked both at Ford and now at Bank of America to try to encourage lawyers in other parts of the world to think about pro bono, not in an American way, because I don't think it's our job to kind of export our culture, but just because we are in a profession, to think about how, as members of that profession, we can use our talents and our training to help those less fortunate. That's been really exciting, and I think we're going to continue to try to do that.
Looking at your career, how did you initially become involved with pro bono? And as you have advanced in your career, what role has pro bono played, if any?
I initially became involved in pro bono at my law firm when I was an associate. I was an associate at Hogan and Hartson, which is now, of course, Hogan Lovells in Washington, D.C. And that was a firm that when I joined it in 1987, already had a deeply ingrained pro bono commitment and culture. It was one of the first firms to designate a partner full-time as a pro bono partner and to have a pro bono department, which they called the Community Services Department. And it was really, again, as I say, deeply ingrained in the culture of the firm. And there was a freedom and an encouragement to become active in pro bono. And there was a wide range of things that you could work on. So that was my first exposure, and I was happy to participate in some of the efforts there.
Perhaps for a legal department that's got a lot of irons in the fire, this is a difficult question to answer, but are there any examples of pro bono efforts of which you're particularly proud or have been particularly meaningful to either you or the legal department?
Well, there's a number of things along the way that I've seen over the years. I mean, I was involved personally early on in my career in helping somebody get political asylum, which was very gratifying. To achieve asylum, you have to demonstrate that you have a well-founded fear of persecution in your home country. So, it's very significant that someone has that kind of fear, as I talked about earlier, this sort of tangible difference in their lives that you can make by helping them live in a way that's free from fear of persecution. So that was extremely meaningful and significant. I've just seen a number of things along the way from, as battered women who've gotten out of situations that are dangerous to them and their children, veterans who've received the benefits to which they're entitled that sometimes can be very hard to secure through the labyrinth of bureaucratic mazes that sometimes you have to navigate through. And those are some of the types of things that I've seen, and they continue every day in Bank of America and in other legal departments across the country.
So with your experience, you've obviously seen the changes in pro bono culture over the last several decades, but looking forward, in what direction would you like to see pro bono move? Well,
I'd like to see it move to be broader, more accessible, and, so to that end, I talked about some of the international efforts that I've encouraged and worked on. I think that's really important. I'd like to see pro bono focused on the needs of individuals. I think there is a role, obviously, for broad-based litigation and changes in society through other pro bono efforts, but I really have a passion for helping individuals in their time of need. So I think that's an important aspect of pro bono. And then I think as a country, I think of two areas that I don't know that it's, needs to move in that direction. It's already there, but I think they're very important. One is veterans, as particularly as we have, a large number of veterans coming off of, a decade of fighting wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. We need to continue to remember to serve those who've served us and who've given a great deal, and we need to make sure that they're protected and taken care of. And then I think of immigration and all the issues as a society we talk about, the subject of great political debate. And I'm not necessarily advocating that Bank of America take a role in that political debate, but we can help individuals who find themselves in situations. Maybe it's a child who is in a situation that obviously they have no control over, or a refugee of some kind, fleeing war. But again, those are individual needs that are tangible and real and critical to people in their everyday lives. I think that's the kind of thing that it's hard to argue would ever be a mistake to spend your time working on.
Before I let you go, is there anything perhaps that I've missed that maybe you wanted to talk about?
The only thing I would say is I would like to encourage my fellow general counsel in legal departments across the country to, if they haven't already, to become signatories to the pro bono challenge. As I said earlier, I think it's a great statement that unifies teams and brings people together. Is a marker for an ambition that we should all share, and is really worth digging into and signing up for. So that's my encouragement.
Excellent. Well, I think we can approve that message and put our stamp on it, and we appreciate it.
Okay.
David, thank you so much for joining me today. We really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us about pro bono.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to our interview with David Leitch, Global General Counsel at Bank of America Corporation. We hope you enjoyed it and that you will join us again for future episodes of the CLO and Pro Bono podcast series. To stay up to date on our podcast, subscribe on iTunes or visit cpbo.org/podcast. And to learn more about the CPBO Challenge Initiative, go to cpbo.org/challenge. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.